Well, hello everybody. Welcome to the video. My name is Brian, and today I'm going to tackle a subject I've never heard anybody take my viewpoint on. I have believed this since I was in high school, and now I have documented proof that what I have thought and felt all along is absolutely true. What am I talking about? I'm talking about, I believe that all retirement accounts are smoke and mirrors used by big business, big investors, and big government to make everybody else wealthy but you. And today, I'm going to go through that. I'm going to start with the proof, and then I'm going to go back and explain why. One of the biggest arguments I've had is the cost of living over the period of the time you're investing your money. So I made up an example. Back in the 70s, gas ran about 35 cents a gallon, okay? On the flip side, if you put 35 cents into a retirement account, bear with me, the rule is if your average return on the stock market is 7% per year, your money will double every 10 years, right? We've all heard that. Okay, so take 35 cents, multiply that, or double that 5 times. You get $5.60. What does a gallon of gas run today? $3.50? $4? Do you see my point? Yeah, it's a little bit better than gas, but think about what you did for the last 50 years. You did without your money. So what I did is, and you should know this up front, 5 years ago I was absolutely broke, and I started buying rental properties. So this year I started selling properties, and in the last 12 months I have sold 4 properties, and I wrote down all of the information for each and every property. But here's the important one, and I want to emphasize I'm doing the same in this example as I did in a gasoline example, cash on cash. I don't want to talk about markets, I don't want to talk interest rate, none of that, because that muddies the water. I'm talking cash on cash, okay? So, in the last 12 months, properties that I bought in the last 5 years, I sold, had $57.8 thousand that I put down cash. Okay? On all 4 properties, $57.8 thousand. When I sold them, I walked away from closing, and this is after all the fees and closing costs and taxes, insurance, all that. I walked away with closing with checks in my hand totaling $159,000. And I live in an average market, okay? I tripled my money in 5 years. Tripled my money. If you take that same $57.8 thousand that I put in down payments, and you started at the beginning. These properties, by the way, I bought over the period of 5 years. I did not buy all of these 5 years ago, but I'm going to give you the benefit to argue with me to say, okay, take $57.8 thousand and put it in to your retirement account, and let's look at the balance 5 years later. You haven't even doubled your money yet. At 7%, it takes 10 years. You're only halfway there. So if you've got 50, and I haven't done the math, but if you've got $57.8 thousand and you're halfway home, you've probably got about $75,000 or $80,000. Because you got 5 more years before your money doubles. In 5 more years, that $159,000 I've got is going to double again. So I'll be at $300,000 when you finally get to $120,000. It's a rocket. It's a racket. And just as a little aside here, I want you to think about something. The average American that puts in their money into a retirement account, their life does not change. I mean, yeah, there's the normal ups and downs, but they're not fabulously wealthy when they get their retirement account. The only people that are getting wealthy off of retirement accounts are the people holding your money. And here's why. You're investing your money at today's value, hoping for much more purchasing power in 30 years. But the people that are receiving your money for the retirement, they're taking that money and investing it in today's purchasing power. And they're taking the benefits in today's purchasing power. So the same way that I tripled my money, they're going to triple their money. So that by the time they have to pay you out, it's going to be minuscule based on what they have invested and made on your back. Okay. Now, before we get into the specifics of why this is true, I do want to ask a favor. If you get anything out of this, please consider subscribing to this channel. I will never monetize it, but I would like to reach more people. So please subscribe and hit the like. Okay, I'm going to do a comparison here between real estate and retirement accounts. And the first one I want to talk about is tax benefits. Now, most retirement accounts, you get 1, 2, maybe 3 benefits. Some of them you get to write off at the beginning. Some of them you pay going in, but you don't pay coming out. Some of them you can move around. Granted, it's paper. Okay? Try taking your money out of one of those accounts. See what happens before your retirement age. Oh my goodness. So with real estate, the tax advantages are you get depreciation every single year. You get write-offs. So if you do improvements to your property, new appliances, fixing a roof, that's write-offs. 1035 exchanges. Can you exchange a retirement account? Yeah, but if you touch the money, you got to pay taxes. The only way to do that is if the money is transferred between the big boys. Guess who's making the money on those transfers? It ain't you. Okay. So, in my humble opinion, the tax write-offs or the tax advantages are 100 times better in real estate than they are in retirement accounts, no matter which tax benefits you can give to me. Okay, let's talk about the usability. For real estate, there's all kinds of uses. You can rent it, you can live in it, you can improve it, you can sell it, you can lease it, you can leverage it. You got the cash flow. You never get the cash flow from your retirement accounts. That just stays in your account. Again, who benefits from all that money backing up? It ain't you until you retire. And by the way, let's talk about that. The percentage of people that actually hit retirement and take their money out is very small compared to the number who open accounts and forget they're there. And even if they do live long enough to take them, there's usually money left in them when they're gone. Again, who's benefiting? Okay, let's talk about the usability of the retirement account. You can't sell it. You can't lease it. There are instances where you can leverage it for a loan from the bank, but again, who benefits? And as I said earlier, with the retirement account, it does produce cash, but you don't get it. You don't get to use it. It has no benefit at all to you. Oh, isn't it nice of them that they're not going to tax you on the increase? Why should they? Somebody else is benefiting from that money, and they're going to pay taxes on it. Okay, let's talk about the finances of them. For real estate, the purchasing power stays relative and under control of you. If you feel your property, let's say you have rental property, if you feel your property is losing purchasing power, you raise your rents. You can't raise your interest rates on your things no matter what the economy does. And just as an example, we talked about starting in the 70s. I don't know how many of you realize this, but in the late 70s and early 80s, the interest rate in this country on bank mortgage loans, 25 freaking percent. Inflation was around 30%. How do you think that handled the 7% annual growth in the real estate? If you retired then, or around the late 70s, early 80s, you got screwed big time, no matter how long you put that money in. Again, you don't control it and you don't benefit. Now, again with the finances, there is a benefit here for the retirement accounts. It's usually pretty easy to get into these accounts. You can open one of these accounts for $500 to $1,000 a month usually, initially. And then you have to promise to put in so much per month. Easy entry. Real estate, not so much. Unless you get special financing for your first home, like first home buyers and stuff, 20% down. The average home in this market where I live is around $300,000. So somebody's got to come up with 60 grand to get into that house. That is a downside to real estate and an upside for retirement accounts. Okay, let's talk about the growth potential. The growth potential for real estate is that you can buy and you can sell. You can buy to make the money like I did, and then you can turn around and sell it and make the money. And then take that money and buy more properties. You can do cash out refis. You keep the property, but as time goes by, let's say after 5 years, you've got 5 years of appreciation and 5 years of reducing your debt. So you just go in there, pull some cash out of your real estate and go buy another piece of property. Try doing that with your retirement account. And I talked about this earlier, 1035 exchange saves you money when you sell if you structure it right so that even on the profits you don't have to pay taxes. You don't get to do that on a retirement account unless you set it up 30 years earlier to where you don't have to pay taxes coming out, but you had to pay taxes going in. They get you both ways. There's no winning here. With real estate, again, talking about the growth potential, one of the major advantages of real estate is leverage. As the example I gave earlier, you can leverage a $300,000 piece of property for 60 grand. You don't get to do that with your retirement account, and you get to use it. You don't get to use your retirement account. So when it all comes down to it, and I'll tell you why I felt that way when I was in high school. Because Ronald Reagan was president, and I remember him coming up with the tax write-off for the 401k. And even in high school, I asked myself, why would the federal government subsidize retirement savings for Americans? Why would they do that? There has to be a reason. I wasn't smart enough or old enough to know the difference. But there is a reason for that. Again, as I said earlier, it's because who's benefiting? Have you ever seen the pictures of those, like Schwab and Vanguard and all those companies? Their buildings are massive. They are huge. They are ornate. How do you think they pay for that? It has nothing to do with the fees. The fees that those companies charge, I would imagine, barely cover any part of it. That's just something to let you know that, yeah, you are paying, and yes, they are going to make money off of that. They're making all their money off of the investments from the money you're putting in. And if they can afford those ornate buildings, can you? Come on. Wake up. Now here's the ultimate thing that would really irritate me when it comes to choosing between these. Because when you're talking about real estate, you have the ultimate control. You get to say when you buy, when you sell, how you buy, how you sell, how much you rent it for, how much you take in, how much you reinvest. You are in total control of that investment. With the retirement account, you have basically no control. Yes, you have the control to start it, you have the control to close it, but you don't have the control to withdraw funds until they tell you you can. And if you do, they hit you with massive penalties. Been there, done that. Penalty for early withdrawal. You sacrifice interest. You don't get very much control. You can control how much you put into it, but you don't get to control how much you take out of it until they tell you you can. So for all of these reasons I have given you, I will never, ever put any money into a retirement account ever. They are a scam. And I'll tell you the truth, and I can't figure out why all the YouTubers are spewing this. Every time you hear one of them, these finance gurus on YouTube, they keep saying, the top 3 things they want you to do. Employer match on your 401k, max out your Roth IRA, max out your spouse's Roth IRA. It's a scam. And if anybody would sit down and do the math and figure it out, they like to talk about compound interest. And you place this amount for this amount, and then you get this amount. That's smoke and mirrors and distraction to keep you off of the fact that you're giving up today's value for a promise in the future that the purchasing power is going to be $1 million in today's dollars. That's what you think, or that's what they want you to think. But as I showed in the example of the gas, the purchasing power is not that much better. Even though it increased 5 times, doubled 5 times, the purchasing power is basically the same. And the people at Schwab, and the people at Vanguard, and the people at all of those other investment firms, they know that. They're living large. Are you? Well, that's about all I want to talk about. You guys have a great day, a great week. We'll see you in the next one.